Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC 273, and I can't wait for this featherweight matchup. It's going to be a big one in the featherweight division. Alexander Volkanovski attempts to make his third successful defense against the Korean Zombie of his world championship in the 145-pound division. Alexander Volkanovski versus the legend himself, the Korean Zombie. What more can you ask for? I'm now really excited for this matchup, and I'll be honest with you guys, when this was first announced, I was majorly against this fight being signed. I understood why it was signed, because Max Holloway pulled out of the matchup, but then we heard that Max Holloway was ready to fight in April, and then this fight still got rescheduled for April against a Korean Zombie, and I was even more annoyed. But as this fight has gotten closer and closer, day by day, knowing that it's this weekend, fingers crossed, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. The legend, the Korean Zombie, in my opinion, gets his last chance at a world championship in any weight class in the UFC. I really do believe if he does not win this weekend against Alexander Volkanovski for the world championship, he is most likely going to retire from the sport of MMA. He's 35 years of age. He's been there, done that. He's fought the who's who. He's had his chances before against Jose Aldo for the world championship. Now he's got another chance. I really don't see a 35-year-old Korean Zombie working his way back up the division on a 3-fight win streak to get back towards the title, to hopefully fight for the belt again at 37 years of age. He's got a big following in South Korea. He's got his own TV show. He's got a bunch of stuff going on. I really do believe if he loses this weekend, it's the end of the Korean Zombie. I truly believe that. So, in a way, I don't want to see him lose, but in another way, I really want to see Volkanovski versus Holloway 3 as the co-main events of the International Fight Week pay-per-view. Adesanya versus Cannonier main events. Volkanovski, Holloway in the co-main event as well. 2 CKB fighters. It would just make absolute sense, and I'm also worried that if the Korean Zombie wins, he'll also just retire anyway, and that would ruin the entire division. So, although I do not want the Korean Zombie to lose, I really want Volk to win. I think Volk's going to win anyway, but I will say this. The odds. And the odds in general for MMA over the past couple of months have been ridiculous. They really have been absolutely ridiculous. Let's be real. I don't understand why he is a minus 700 favourite over the Korean Zombie. This is the Korean Zombie, a legend of the featherweight division. He's fought the who's who. He's always been in the top 5, top 10. He even went away to do military service, came back and worked his way back into the top of the division until getting randomly elbowed at the end of a fight against Yair Rodriguez. He arguably beat up Yair Rodriguez, and when you look at that matchup now, even though he officially lost by KO to Yair Rodriguez, he was really handily beating Yair Rodriguez in that matchup. And Yair Rodriguez, I know he must have improved, but just had a very close fight with Max Holloway. So the Korean Zombie is for sure still a legit contender, coming off a great performance against Dan Ige. Before that, he lost to Brian Ortega. Should he have gotten the title shot, really? No, but I understand why they made this matchup happen. I'm not complaining anymore. The fight is here. I'm looking forward to it. Volk should not be a minus 700 favourite. He should be like a minus 300, a minus 400 at best if you really want to take liberties, a minus 400. Do I believe he's going to win? Yes. But this is dangerous, man. The Korean Zombie has a knack against shorter opponents to obliterate them. Okay, he has very difficult times against taller opponents in his career. Longer, rangier guys in the featherweight division seem to give him more of a challenge than some of the shorter guys, and his best performances of his career have come against shorter opponents, the shape and build of Alexander Volkanovski. Dan Ige, great performance. His recent performance had a great matchup there and did very well in that matchup and won that fight very, very clearly by decision over the 5 rounds. I picked Dan Ige to win. The Korean Zombie proved me wrong. He also beat Dennis Bermudez by KO, had a great performance there. His other great performance of his career was against Frankie Edgar recently as well. He got a brutal KO in that fight too. This is a dangerous man for the body type of Alexander Volkanovski. However, Volk's gonna Volk. Volk is going to Volk. I don't see TKZ winning this one, boys. I really like TKZ. There's a part of me that would love to see the fairy tale ending, but it's Volkanovski. He's really, really good. He's built different. He doesn't get tired. He's got power in his hands. He's got technique for days. He might be the most technical fighter on the entire roster, bar Piotr Jan maybe. it's really tough to go against him, and I'm not going to. Now, I know a lot of people might be out there saying, betting tips-wise, you should put money on the Korean Zombie. He's a great underdog. But I'm not giving you guys betting tips. I'll give you betting tips on how I think Volk's going to win. I'm just saying who I believe is going to win here. The odds don't tell me who I believe is going to win. The fight tells me who I believe is going to win. And Volkanovski's going to win this matchup. I just think it's a really bad one for the Korean Zombie. He isn't too much bigger than Volk. He doesn't even have too much reach over Volkanovski either, and Volkanovski's a shorter opponent who's got, I believe, half an inch of reach disadvantage here against TKZ, so it's going to be a very good night for him in that case. Volk's so good, and the Korean Zombie is a boxer, and he's very, very simple in what he does, and I think giving Volkanovski a simple opponent, it's just not going to go well for them. Volk is a genius in there. He figures you out. He breaks you down. He tamed Max Holloway. I know a lot of people are delusional enough to say that Max Holloway won that rematch, even though he clearly lost 3 rounds to 2. I watched it happen. Volk won 3 rounds to 2. Volk won 3 rounds to 2 against Holloway. He beat him. And in the first fight, and this is what no one likes to mention when they bring up the fact that Holloway got robbed. In the first fight between Volk and Holloway, Volk schooled him, tamed him, broke him down, chewed him up. He had Max Holloway taunting after exchanges that he was losing over and over and over again because he had Holloway emotional. Holloway couldn't do anything to Volk, so all he was left to do was taunt Volkanovski after the exchanges, after he'd been outstruck by him, because he had nothing to do. He was so frustrated in that first matchup. It's so hard to watch that happen to Holloway and not assume that a similar thing doesn't happen to TKZ. I understand TKZ has more power, and maybe he could land those big shots on Alexander Volkanovski and put him away in the first round. I don't see that happening. I think Volk's got a great chin. Even if he doesn't have a great chin and you see him get dropped now and again, his recovery time is absolutely ridiculous. So even if I do see TKZ maybe dropping Volkanovski, I don't see him putting him out cold. So if he drops him, I can see Volkanovski recovering from that, working his way back into a fight. I don't think there's going to be any grappling going on here. I think both guys' grappling is going to sort of negate each other until one of them gets beaten up. I'll get to that in a second. Then I think some grappling may come into play. But Volkanovski is 23-1. He's undefeated at featherweight. He's only lost, I believe, at middleweight against a giant man by head kick TKO. The guy's got GOAT foundations of legacy. 10-0 in the UFC so far. Mendes, Aldo, Holloway twice, Ortega. Now he's looking for the Korean Zombie. And the Korean Zombie's looking old in the embedded episodes, guys. He's looking real old, and I'm noticing it in the face of the Korean Zombie. He's aging in front of us. Volk's in his prime right now. He's looking to make a statement, create legacy here. Could the Korean Zombie win? Yes. But at the end of the day, you've got a guy in the Korean Zombie who doesn't really move his head in any way whatsoever. You've got a guy with the accuracy that Volkanovski has and the setups for punches that Volkanovski has as well. That don't work out for me in terms of picking the Korean Zombie. You've got a guy in the Korean Zombie who stands so heavy on his lead leg when he fights. It's not even a joke. Like, he leans over his lead leg, scouting for punches. He'll lurch his chin forward, looking to see if someone will throw shots at him, and then he'll pull counter off of him. He does it quite a lot. He scouts forward, just like Figueiredo used to do before Moreno taught him not to do that anymore, and he had to change his style a little bit. I think Volk's going to chew up his legs. I think Volk is going to chew up his legs really badly, beat him up to the body, jab him in the face, and just outdo the Korean Zombie at every turn. Now, I do believe there's going to be a moment in the first round, and this is for all the TKZ fans out there. There's going to be a moment of success for the Korean Zombie, I do believe. I will predict that Volkanovski finishes this fight by 4th round TKO, but the Korean Zombie is going to drop him in the first round. I do believe there's going to be a very close first round to begin with. Volk landing some leg kicks. The Korean Zombie landing a couple of punches here and there. Volk landing a couple of good punches back. Volk winning the round quite comfortably in a very competitive bout. And then at the end of the first round, I believe that the Korean Zombie is going to clip him on the chin, sit him down for a little split second. Volkanovski gets right back up. The Korean Zombie starts sort of corralling him against a cage, trying to finish him off, trying to make something big happen. Volk recovers, shoots for a clinch, goes for a double leg, gets it stuffed, pushes the Korean Zombie up against a cage, knees him to to the thigh a couple of times, punches him to the body a couple of times, elbows him in the face a couple of times. The round's over. Korean Zombie maybe wins the first round because of that knockdown, even though he was outstruck in that round. But then after that, I think we're going to see Volkanovski really chew up the calf of the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie doesn't move very well. He moves forwards and backwards. He doesn't like when a guy circles around him. He even said this in the Embedded episode. I know what Volk's going to try and do because it's what I hate dealing with. He's going to try and circle around me and make stuff happen that way. Yeah. That's exactly what he's going to do, and he's going to do a much better job of it than Brian Ortega did, because I know a lot of people like to play this stupid game and say that Brian Ortega versus Volkanovski was a close fight. Volk dominated Ortega, other than those moments in round 3 and 30 seconds in the end of the 5th round. Other than about 1 minute and a half of that fight total, Volk was in complete control, and he was doing whatever he wanted with Brian Ortega, picking him apart and clearly outlanding him every single round. In round 5, people really tried to make it seem like Ortega was doing good. He got doubled. He was getting tripled before the last 30 seconds. Volk's a different level. He's a different breed. He's going to move around the outside, hacking at the legs of the Korean Zombie, eventually starting to work the body and the head afterwards, and eventually start to work his way up the body of the Korean Zombie to the head. Korean Zombie's going to have an eye swollen. He's going to have a lip busted. His nose is going to be busted as well. Volk's going to be piecing him up. Eventually, the Korean Zombie ain't going to be able to take it too much anymore. Around round 4, I think that leg's going to start to give way. Volk's going to chew it up really badly like he was doing to Max Holloway. If Holloway can't deal with those leg kicks, I don't see the Korean Zombie being able to deal with them. And I can see Volk putting him away in round 4 with TKO to ground and pound. I think the Korean Zombie's going to be beaten up. He's going to look 35 in there. Swollen eye, busted lip, broken nose, busted all over the place, red marks all over him. Volkanovski goes for a takedown, a trip, gets it, lands ground and pound, and finishes off the Korean Zombie, who isn't a progressing division. I don't think he's going to get KO'd on the ground or anything like that. I just think Volk's pressure is going to be too much. He's going to start wailing on him on the ground, and the Korean Zombie's just not going to improve his position, and he's going to lose. Sadly. I really don't want to see him lose. He's going to lose to Volk. It's just what you have to pick. Sure, he could win. He could get a Hail Mary. I'm sure some people out there are picking a Hail Mary with no evidence to support their claim whatsoever. I don't see it happening. And one more thing I have to save until the end of this video. The Korean Zombie was too injured to take this fight in March. That's the saddest part about it. And that's what makes me think he knows it's his last chance. He wouldn't have got this title shot if Holloway didn't step out and he didn't jump in on short notice to try and take that matchup in March. They wanted to make the matchup in March. It was his only chance to get a title shot, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't make it in March. He had to delay it until April because he was injured. Because he was injured, guys. Let's not forget that. He was too injured to fight in March. A month later and everything's going to be A-okay? I don't think so, man. I think he's too injured for this matchup. I think he's taken it because he knows it's his last chance. And I don't think we're going to see the best version of him whatsoever. He hasn't been the most active recently. The Dan Ige performance, he beat Dan Ige, but it was nothing to blow your hair back too much. The Brian Ortega performance, he got schooled and he didn't look good whatsoever. And again, if he wins this, it'll be a miracle, genuinely. So maybe the odds are correct after knowing about the injury. And that's maybe what it was. I saw a lot of people in the comments saying the reason why the odds are like this is because the Korean Zombie is injured going into this matchup. And once the sort of betting agents found out about that, they whacked the odds up to minus 700 to Volk. So I kind of get it now. Last opportunity. Hey, Korean Zombie. Do you want to fight in March? Holloway might take the fight in April because he's ready to go in April. No, I'm too injured. I don't like that, man. Volk has been ready to go. Volk wanted to fight before the end of the year last year. He wanted to fight in January, February, March. He's wanted to go. He's been ready. He's been training. He's ready to set legacy for himself. TKZ turned down a title shot in March because he couldn't make it because he was too injured. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's not speculation. It's not rumors around the camp. It's per quota. As per the Korean Zombie. Can't make it in March. I'm injured. We'll have to delay it to April. That means he ain't been having good training. Volk has been training like a savage during this time, no doubt. The Korean Zombie, arguably, upon starting this fight camp, had only just returned to full-time training since recovering from an injury. We don't know what it might be. I don't like that. And he's had his eye problems over the past few years as well. There's just so much on him. It just doesn't look good for him whatsoever. Volk's been here before. He's been in the big moments. He's been as close as you can possibly be to losing a world championship without actually losing it against Brian Ortega. He's got nothing to fear in terms of submission threat, in my opinion. And I think that's how he's going to feel in his mind as well. So he's going to have that confidence to get his way out of anything. I don't see the Korean Zombie submitting him. Could he KO him? Maybe. Is Korean Zombie 100% if he hits you, you go out? No. Renato Moicano at 145 didn't have the best of chins. Volk made Aldo look like an idiot in Brazil. Schooled him. No one schools Aldo. Holloway lost the early rounds to Aldo, eventually came back and wore on him. Volk schooled him and made him look silly. He made him look silly in Brazil. Aldo's home crowd. Aldo didn't want to engage. He was being out-thought. Mentally. Not thought as in with the fists. I mean, thought as in thinking. He was being out-thunk by Volkanovski, and he couldn't do anything. This guy's different. I think he beats TKZ. Maybe TKZ drops him in rounds 1 to 1 knee. Everyone goes crazy, but Volkanovski recovers like the true champ he is, gets right back up to his feet, and then hopefully we can see a trilogy between him and Holloway in July, International Fight Week, Cannonier Adesanya, Volkanovski Holloway, and I'm not promising anything yet. I kind of am. I might be there for that one, covering it there. Little teaser for you guys. I'm hooking some stuff up. I'm making some plans. So we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. The featherweight division stays as it should be. There's no big mess up this weekend. We'll see how it goes, though. But I'm going to go Volkanovski, late 4th round, TKO to ground and pound. Gets the job done. And then the TKZ retires, I would imagine. I don't see him continuing because he's got a massive following. He's 35 years of age. He's got his own TV show in South Korea. He's a superstar. He gets millions of views on YouTube. Have you ever seen his YouTube channel? Go check his YouTube channel. He gets millions of views. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views every single day, it seems like. The guy can retire now and be fine for life. I can see him doing that with the injuries he's had. I don't know if it goes well for him, boys. With that injury factored in, I would maybe see this differently and consider an underdog maybe. But with the injury factored in that we know is a fact, what can I do? I can't pick him. Volk wins. 4th round TKO to ground and pound. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.